obvious place to start is England. How much should we expect, and what is too much expectation for this tournament?
Well, expectation's enjoyable. You want a bit of hope. I mean, I know it's hope that kills us sometimes, but I think for the first time in a very long time, England have got a squad that can compete. I know we did the semi-finals in a couple of years ago, but we kind of punched a bit above our weight in that because, they did really well. They got a bit lucky with the draw, etc. But it was still a good performance. But I think now, even though probably a little bit inexperienced overall and a couple of positions a little bit light, central defence and possibly in goal. But that aside, we've got some fabulous talent, fullbacks and in midfield, forward positions. And also, for the first time in a long time, we've got strength in depth. And that will be important, particularly after the season we've had that's been so concertinaed and tiring. The fact that he'll be able to rotate. I don't think, people keep saying, what's his best 11? I don't think he probably knows himself. And I don't think I don't think it'll be a consistent starting 11 anyway, because there is so much talent, particularly in forward positions. So, and also he'll be able to freshen up his team in the second half, 5 substitutions, and bring on players of equal quality, which is, I think, a very important point for England. But I think the future is very bright for England. This summer might be a bit early for them, but they'll have a chance. There's no question about that. But the group stages should get through comfortably enough. But after that, the draw looks like it's going to be very difficult. It could easily be, one of the France, Portugal, Germany group, and so we'll see. But I think we'll do. There's so much talent in this England side that they should do well.
Who's the threats from outside, and who are you looking forward to watching? Who maybe you don't watch on Match of the Day, but you will be covering this summer?
I watch a lot of football, that's for sure. I think the main threat. I think France have to be favourites. I mean, they were finalists 4 years ago. They won the World Cup 2 years ago. They've now got Benzema back, and that's a massive addition because they didn't. That position wasn't necessarily their strongest before that. So that's and they've got some great young players, particularly around the central defensive areas. So and they've got Kante and Pogba, and they have to be the favourites. Germany don't look as probably as likely to do as well as they normally do. I think Portugal will defend their trophy well. I think they've got an outside chance. They've obviously still got Ronaldo. He's slightly past his best, but he still scores goals. They've got Diaz, Bruno Fernandes, Jota, João Felix. They've got a hell of a lot of talent in that side, and have to be considered. After that, if you want to, Italy are coming through. They've not got big stars particularly, but they've got a togetherness and they've been getting good results. Spain is starting to re-emerge after a little bit of a dip. And then if you want an outsider that might do reasonably well, maybe the Czech Republic. I think they've got some good players.
Yeah. I'd chuck in Turkey as well myself.
Turkey as well, yeah. And they've got some really good youngsters as well, Turkey. And they've got Sionchu on good Leicester.
Talking, you sort of mentioned Ronaldo there, and it's been quite an interesting year in the Champions League, how it's been almost Ronaldo and Messi passing the baton. I think they didn't get to the quarter-final for the first time, since pretty much they broke through. So do you think that the Euros is going to be another shop window for the sort of next generation? And who?
Well, it always is, isn't it? It's always a major championship. Yeah, we saw that in the Champions League, but I think that's more down to the fact that both Juve and Barca have got weak teams at the moment. They're going through transitional phases. Messi this calendar year has scored more and had more assists than any other player anywhere. So they're still banging away, and Ronaldo scored loads of goals, and they're phenomenons. But you're right. We saw that, Haaland and Mbappe coming through, didn't we, in the Champions League? And we'll see it again in the Euros, and hopefully it'll be one or two of the young English lads, Phil Foden, Mason Mount, in particular, Jadon Sancho. I've watched so much of. I think the people will be surprised how good he is in this country, because we don't tend to watch much of foreign football. I watch a lot of German football, I watch a lot of Spanish football, I watch Italian football, I watch French football. So it's important to keep on top of things in this job. So watching him and Bellingham as well. Bellingham You know, I'd be shocked if he's not in the squad. So, you know, we've got some prodigious talents in this country, you know, but, you know, there's plenty of other countries that have got that kind of thing. As Barella in Italy. You know, there's lots of young French players that we've enjoyed watching, and so it's you know, obviously Haaland's not there, which is a bit of a shame, but Mbappe, he's already a global superstar. If you're talking about he's the most likely, isn't he? So I think jump into the shoes of Ronaldo. I think you can't say anyone. There's not another Messi, because he just does things that people can't do. So, but after that, there's going to be lots of great players to look forward to seeing.
Yeah, and with what Mbappe's achieved, having done the World Cup, having won the World Cup as pretty much a key player right away, you know, to add a Euros, and then, you know, there's some rumours about Real Madrid as well. For him to sort of have that legacy, that sort of running through his career so early, that certainly sets him up for maybe a decade of domination like the other two we just mentioned have had.
Yeah, I mean, talent-wise, there's no question. Whether he's got the drive that Messi and Ronaldo have had to sustain their careers over, what, 17, 19 years, and two of them, it's quite remarkable. So it takes a special kind of drive for that. I'm not sure he's quite got that, but ability-wise, he's got everything. And, you know, he could go on to do those kind of things, and that, you know, big rumours about Real Madrid, obviously, and whether he needs to move from PSG to realise the ambitions of greatness. Well, maybe he does. We'll have to wait and see. He's got a big decision to make over the next month or so, but I doubt it will distract him from the tournament itself.
And with Kane, obviously a lot of talk. We don't even know what it's going to be like before the embargo lifts on June the 1st, but there's been a lot of talk with him. How have you sort of lived it as a kind of like a Spurs man, but also somebody who's kind of been in his shoes a little bit?
Yeah, I don't think even Tottenham fans would begrudge him moving now. I mean, he's given the club everything, hasn't he, for a long time. They've not won anything with him, which is a shame. And it's a tough time for Tottenham. Obviously, they're kind of managerless in the real sense of the word at the moment. If they're going to lose their best player, and it's a tough time for the fans of Tottenham. But for Harry, you know, he needs to go, and he wants to compete for major trophies. Who wouldn't as a player? You know, similar circumstances myself, a little bit different, but when I was at Leicester, I was there for 8 years. As a kid, it was my team. I supported them all my life. But there comes a point where you have to put your career first, and he's got to do that, obviously, by the time this comes out. I very much doubt it'll happen that quickly, though, to be honest, especially with the negotiation skills of Daniel Levy. I think it could take a while.
Do you think that kind of like with Daniel Levy and him being so good, it almost makes it hard to sign him with the way modern football is, because he's going to cost over 100 million. It's going to be like...
well, will he, though? Will he? Who knows what agreement that, you know, Harry, he might have said to him last season, he might have said, Harry, give me one more season under Jose, and I'll, you know, well, if we don't do anything, then I'll consider. Who knows what's actually going on in the background? We don't. He's nearly 28. You know, paying over 100 million would be, you know, quite something. But he does guarantee goals. I think he guarantee that wherever he goes. So, and clubs will want him, so that will help escalate the price for Tottenham. But you know, ultimately, Harry will, I think, determine things, because he's in a position where he might have to be strong and say, well, you know, this is where I want to go.
Where would you like to see him? Because for me, Man City, if he's a Man City player, they're gonna kill the competition.
Indeed, I think the same thing. I think that'd be a bit worrying. I don't mind. I'd like to see him go. I'd love to see him go to Barcelona, but I mean, I think they're going to go for Aguero. They're getting Aguero, so they've got a centre forward. But and you know, they're really short on cash at the moment. So I think it's almost certainly between Man United, Man City, and possibly PSG. Pochettino's there. He'll win things there, guaranteed. But I think it's more likely one of the Manchester clubs perhaps the only two really that can afford him outside of Chelsea. And I don't think he'd go to Chelsea. He wouldn't do that to Tottenham fans, I don't think. But who knows?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's such a small group of clubs that can even afford a player like that. It narrows it down right away, doesn't it? But what do you think the Euros will do to him? Can you play in a Euros and not be distracted by this? Because I'm going to cover England. I've got like my pass sorted and all that, and I can just imagine every press conference you're supposed to.
No, it won't be like that. It won't be like. I had exactly the same circumstances in 1986. Alan Shearer had it in as well in 96 when he left Blackburn for Newcastle just after it. He'll probably say, whilst I'm with England, whilst I'm in the tournament, I don't want to talk to my agent about what's happening. Just deal with it, and he'll be focused on the job in hand. It won't be a distraction for Harry Kane. It's too important playing for your country, especially when you're captain of your country.
Yeah, and it's a genuine shot. Do you think he's got a shot of the Golden Boot, and who are the sort of contenders up there with him? Do you think?
Well, he has to have a shot, particularly with the amount of talent and creativity that England have now got.
Yeah.
So of course he'll have a chance. You never know, because it's just what you're going to play 6 games, 7 games maximum. So England will have to progress reasonably well in the competition for him to do what he did 3 years ago now, obviously, in the World Cup. He'll have a chance. He has to, and it'll be up there. Obviously, Ronaldo would be a contender, Mbappé unquestionably, or Benzema. He's back in the French squad. That's important. He could do it. Well, there's plenty of contenders, aren't they? Really, right around the competition. But Kane will be one of the favourites. But if you had to, if I had to put my life on it, I'd go Mbappe. But it doesn't necessarily always work that way.